It's your. You're welcome.
All right, it is 6:34 p.m. Welcome to the June 24th, 2026 Parks and Recreation Commission special meeting. This is a hybrid meeting with commissioners, city staff, and members of the public participating virtually and at the Belhaven Community Campus. I would like to introduce the commissioners and staff present. So, Commissioner Young Chun, Commissioner Kevin Dawkins, myself, Chair Joseph Grass, Vice Chair Justin Van Buren, and staff presidents, Ashley Dixon and Nick Skoda. And so
It's all right.
Happens all the time. Other staff, which I've missed.
Harrison, Recreation Coordinator Harrison Yee and Recreation Coordinator Kelly DeTelemac.
Okay, great. All right. Oh, it's on the page. Got it. Ashley will be helping facilitate the meeting. Ashley, will you please take a moment to provide instructions to the commission and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Thank you, Chair. For members of the public who are attending this meeting virtually and wish to provide public comment, after the chair calls for public comment on the item you wish to speak on, please engage the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen. For those who are calling in from a landline or cell phone, please press *9 to raise your virtual hand. For members of the public attending in person, there are speaker cards available on the table. Please complete one and turn it in to staff before public comment is called for the item you wish to speak on. Public comment portions, if there's a large number of public commenters, the time limit may be adjusted by the chair in order to allow everyone a chance to comment. When your turn for public comment has arrived, staff will unmute you. Public comment portions of advisory body meetings are reserved for members of the public to provide comments directly to the commission. Commissioners will listen but cannot respond during this portion of the meeting. And with that, I will turn the meeting to the chair.
Okay, under public comment, the public may address the commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. Please clearly state your name and address or political jurisdiction in which you live. The commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda. Therefore, the commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Ashley, do we have any public comments?
Are there any public comments for items not on the agenda? This is for item C1, public comment and items not on the agenda. No public comment.
Okay, first is item D1, a presentation from San Mateo County Parks and on realized flood park updates. Joining us online to give the presentation is San Mateo County Parks and Recreation Assistant Parks Director Hannah Wormjaw. Thank you for joining us, Hannah.
I think I'm the director.
Thank you. And Emma Gonzalez is actually here in person to be able to present. She's interim director. But I'll be here to help answer any questions.
Great.
Hi, I'm Emma Gonzalez and I am the interim parks director for San Diego County. So if you could share the deck, that'd be great. Would you like to sit here? I said. If not, Hannah might be able to share.
I think I saw it. I think Ashley was just here setting up for the meeting, so they didn't see them. So it's not Ashley, I can figure it out.
Would like to start?
Oh, yeah, actually, do we have any public comment on this item?
Are there any public comments on item D1? No public comment.
Okay, thank you. With that, public comments closed and item, and go ahead with your presentation. But yeah.
The Flood Park has been important community asset for county residents or surrounding communities, including those in our park. It is also a park that personally is meaningful to me. As a lifelong resident of San Mateo County, many of my most favorable childhood memories here are at the park. And having the opportunity to be part of the transformation has been especially rewarding in this capacity. So Tonight, I'd like to, just walk you through, give you some, an update on some significant investments and improvements that have happened at Flood Park. And where we're at in the implementation process, as well as long-term vision for the park. Next slide. By 2014, many of our park facilities have aged, so, we have an aging facility, park system. And where there were significant reinvestments needed. This prompted the reimagination of the park effort. And community-driven planning process that established a long-term vision for the park. Improvements that you're being seen today. Community input truly shaped this project. We spent considerable time listening to residents throughout workshops, surveys, pop-up events, and public meetings, resulted in nearly 2,000 comments and pieces of feedback that helped define the vision and what our plans would be for Flood Park. Next slide. Community members told us what they wanted: more opportunities for recreational space, additional gathering spaces, and more spaces for family, children to enjoy the park. This was our phase one approach, was designed to respond directly to the feedback that included the tennis, pickleball courts, basketball, sand volleyball, a pump track, 20 drop-in picnic sites, 7 reservation group picnic areas, expanded parking, new walking paths, upgraded utilities, and significant landscape improvements. Today, these amenities are open and fully used, and heavily used, demonstrated by the demand identified by the community input and what was thought through the planning process. Before we did phase one, this image shows Flood Park at the beginning of phase one. Other than the pump track, the improvements were discussed and not been constructed. It provides a good before and after perspective on how much the park has changed and transformed over time. This aerial view provides a good overview of phase one improvements, including a new multi-use sports field, tennis and pickleball courts, basketball courts, and the sand volleyball courts. These improvements have significantly expanded recreational opportunities at Flood Park, while also laying the groundwork for future phases, including renovated basketball field and an additional multi-use sports field. So that is our multi-use sports field right there. And what you could see is how it's expanded before and after. Next screen. Oh, that was our sports field. Sorry, I think that was next slide. And this is it as well. You can see some more gathering spaces, picnic areas that we were talking about. And then each of the barbecue areas, you have your, the fire pit, you have a washing station, and a lot of gathering spaces to be able to, participate. Next slide. I think I missed the slide. Somewhere didn't go past. Okay.
The playgrounds are probably.
Yeah, there you go. The playground design was shaped by extensive community input and reflects what children and families told us and wanted to see in the new playground space. That selected Boulder Canyon theme complements the natural character of Flood Park, while providing a variety of inclusive play opportunities for different ages and abilities. One of the things I appreciated most about the playground was the design to grow with children. Features included climbing structures, slides, swings, zip lines, spinners, and a dedicated toddler area with a variety of different levels that are challenging, encouraging exploration, confidence, as well as active play for children developing in different skill sets and levels. Throughout the design process, preserving the existing tree canopy and natural setting remained an important part of our planning process. This this highlights the playground features and what's connecting it up ahead. One more slide, I think. There should be one.
Alone.
Yeah. Was it this one? Sorry.
There you go.
I'm scrolling, so I see it here, but there's a delay there.
Oh, that's what I was like, okay, so that is our tower, a design tower, of the playground features here. And so what I wanted to show you here is that on the playground, the double tower has a net climber there. It's a great example of how the design was beyond the playground, but creating kind of the multi-challenges. It gets more challenging as you progress and, go through the different bridges as well. That's a better example of really the kind of customization of the playground and how things have been progressing very quickly and how we are at, we are at almost completion of the design. As much as you'll see that the playground is, and many of you are seeing that we are nearing completion of the project. With the exception of only having a couple delays, and those delays being the safety as our top priority. And what you're gonna see from the playground right now is some features did not pass the safety check. The spinner, for example, is there continues to be a gap. We keep bringing manufacturer to come in, and the gap keeps cutting. There's still a gap. Some of the netting is coming from Germany. It's taking a little longer to get that completed, as well as we are going to add. As not probably not a surprise to me, but when we installed this customized playground, of course, you see the metal. And with the metal slide, at 70-degree weather, it was temping at 125. So we will not be opening the park until we have those shade structures. For really those reasons of really safety being the most critical piece. Many of our residents and many of your Mountain Park residents are definitely feeling concerned, like, can they see the park, and they see the playground wanting to open. But safety being our most critical issue, and as well as I know you could understand, we will not be opening to the park until all of that feature is completed. And it was probably late February, early March, at 70 degrees weather, and that was temping at really hot temperature. We can only imagine what the summer will bring us, and so we said, we will not open until we have those instructions now. We are in that phase now. We're working with our consultants and our contractors to get those expedited, and we will make sure that they're that's fully shaded. And again, we're waiting for some netting, and the spin manufacturer has been out there multiple times, so they haven't been able to get it quite right. But really, one of the other questions that you might be asking is, and the slide keeps delaying, so I'm not sure where we're at this, but can we keep going to the next slide? One of our renderings also showed initially, that's the zip line. It's an all-inclusive play. And I am excited about it, as I shared with you. And in all these elements, again, we're ready to have it open. We're equally excited to get this open as much as everybody else and the park residents. Next slide. And this is the toddler area, the toddler space. As again, you'll see the climbs. It has a climb structure, the slide, and other areas there. We have a little tent area to the, you can't quite see it from the space, to the right side. Again, really age appropriate and inclusive play for all skills and abilities. Next slide. And this is an aerial view of what the playground looks like, that we're excited to open, and then we'll be getting the shade structures in soon. Next one. I think the one thing I wanted to add in there is, I know that there's interest about the diamond and where we're at with the diamond field, the baseball field. So that is definitely being considered. That is part of what the residents and surveys wanted. Due to finding more checking right now, feasibility and some, the feasibility, and also we have the financial constraints. as you and many other of our city partners are all experiencing some financial difficulties, especially impacted by BLF. We are looking at several, multi-million-dollar deficit. And the county is experiencing it, so really we can't make those level of commitments at this time, but we have a commitment for myself. From the county executive's office to continue those efforts in the Diamond Field. Probably a multi-year process, but we're looking at donations, and whether it's something we can do as a capital improvement, maybe a 2-3 year process, but we're looking at feasibility now. And looking at what that costs, the cost that we had before, has now since then doubled. So we just have to now look at it as how do we phrase it over 2 years. But that is certainly in the next phase. But in case your residents ask, and one of our residents, it is still active, in consideration, we still want to plan to do that as well. So with that, I'm sorry, I think we're hearing some delays on the slide with concern. But I'm happy to answer any questions. I do appreciate the ability to come and speak and kind of share. I was really hoping, I think when we were talking to Ashley, I was hoping that I would be able to say the ribbon cutting was happening soon or it would have happened. I think we were trying to time it and we were really excited that we thought that we could open it right now. Unfortunately, just that, the challenges of everything, opening on time and with some of these safety measures, we want to make sure they're right before we move.
Thanks, and thanks, Ms. Gonzalez. And so now, Ashley, do we have any public comments on the item, and then we can take questions from the commission?
Are there any public comments on item D1? Questions on realizing the park? No.
Okay, now we're open for commission discussion. Any questions?
What's the solution for a increase of parking?
What's the solution for, because where it actually was gated, and so now they're taking off some of the fencing over there by the Diamond Field. So that will increase and build some capacity back there when that fencing comes down. The fencing isn't gonna come down until we finish some of the projects, right? But that will increase the parking spaces.
What's the plan with the slide?
What's the plan? We're gonna put shade structures over the sides. It'll be full shade and what we're seeing and we're hearing from our other Parks and Rec jurisdiction cities, not only Sanitary County, but surrounding counties is that's been kind of the move. Everybody that had metal slide has now covered it with full shade slide. And so we're moving in that direction as well. What we're trying to ensure is that we put the slide, we're trying to minimize the number of poles going down so people don't fall into them. It doesn't impact the infrastructure, as well as the manufacturer is with the slide, so it has to, everything is custom made, but that's where we're at. But it'll be over the slides as well as the top area.
So the group picnic areas are open now. How do people go and book picnic areas?
So you could book online or you could call us directly, either way, if you want to have a group section. And those are being booked, I mean, some of the weekend, but there's still allows for drop-ins, so we still have those, we have capacity for drop-ins as well as reservations.
And then also for the pickleball, it looks like you have 2 tennis courts or dual stripe for pickleball and tennis.
So they have 2 tennis courts, but we just recently added in 2 portable pickleballs. And they were striping them so that you could make on one side of the tennis court, you can have 2 pickleball sets. And so that is something that we've also seen as a best practice and we've brought that in and it's there.
So is it dual stripes then?
Yes.
I see, and you just bring in the pickleball net.
So if someone wants to play football, just roll it out, you can have 2 games going on and then you can still have capacity to do 10 on the other side.
And it's all drop-in at this point?
Right now it's dropping, we are working with a consultant to really look and or talking to our surrounding parks and rec agencies and cities, just to better understand like development policies. As much as we want to expand and allow group and tournament play, et cetera, we also want to make sure that drop-in residential play is still there. That's still key for us, that's important. And so we want to make sure that we're complementing and allowing both. And so we're working with a consultant to really provide us some recommendations on what would that look like. So before we move into just dominating by tournament, we wanna make sure the importance of having residential play and access is important.
And then how do you plan on, finding out what the activity is like at the park and how things are going? Do you have some of this, employee assigned to do that or drop in? How do you know?
Yeah,
what's
we
going
have
on?
an entire district staff that's assigned to each of our parks, which is about 7 people for the park area, and they patrol that one area. We have a park superintendent as well. And then Hannah, the assistant, and myself as the director. So I would say that there is always presence on, a little bit every week. There's staff, between our park ranger staff and our maintenance staff, there's always something happening. I think our best, along with our surveys, I think our biggest way of learning is just by engagement. And when I go out and I pop in on the weekends, I pop in on the week, I like to see how parks are being used. And so for me, it's being used during the week as well as on the weekend. And just, I think I learned best by watching, seeing, and talking to the residents on site. And I've seen the interaction specifically at Club Park, when you have your day users that do the trails, you do the walking, walk around the park, and then you see them engaging with the park rangers, and they know exactly their names, and they're saying, how you doing, how are you, everybody, how many this is, so and so. They've established these relationships because they are embedded in the community, so that's what I'm really proud of that.
It's great.
Yeah.
Knowing what you know now, is there anything that you would do different through the design and build process, other than the difficulties with the manufacturers that you described?
Well, the shape.
The shape.
The shape structure wasn't part of the original design. And it wasn't budgeted in there, and so knowing what I know now, that was the first chance. And that was because I have a grandchild myself, I had a 3-year-old. And safety was important, and I can see my little 3-year-old running, not why, as much as I can have every signage and hot temperature beware. My little one will jump on there and, I was afraid for not only thinking of my little one, what other little. So yeah, what I know now, yeah, definitely, that's the first thing that I changed. Or improved, I should say.
During the design phase or other surfacing, considered except for the rubber surfacing and the playground surfacing. During the design phase, have you ever considered other playground surfacing, other than the rubber surfacing right now?
Have I seen anything outside
Yeah.
of what we're adding in there?
During the design phase,
Yeah, have you ever considered other playground surfacing?
Other playgrounds?
Playground
Surface.
Service. I'm having a hard time hearing it, and I have trouble hearing already. During the design phase, I would ask Hannah, did you hear that question for the design phase?
Yeah, throughout the park system, we do have kind of a combination of different playgrounds that have either engineered wood fiber or the poured in place rubber surfacing. So, yeah, there's like definitely a benefit to one over the other. With this playground, I don't recall if it was anything that was specifically requested for the the public engagement portion, but I do know that there were earlier phases of the design as well in which we had a combination of the poured in place and some engineered wood fiber, but we ultimately wanted to limit the combination because you end up with more maintenance needs when the wood chips migrate over onto the rubberized surface. It can get dirt and debris in the spacing of the rubber. So we didn't want to have a hybrid where we had lots of wood chip areas next to the rubberized surface. And so we opted to go with a fully poured in place surfacing. And we have other parks where that's our primary, like our entire surfacing as well. So we also, yeah, we're able to understand the maintenance, like benefits or differences between wood fiber versus the poured in place. And so, yeah, but I think if I was hearing your question correctly in terms of considering other alternatives, we did consider having a combination with engineered wood fiber, but because of the way that could impact the rubber poured in place, we opted to go pretty much entirely with poured in place. I think there's an area with we have a polymetric sand near the top side, and then we also have some there's kind of a nature play area under the tree with some logs and features that can be climbed on as well. And so that's more of a, natural like dirt surface, but for the main play area, it's all the poured in place.
One of the things I think I forgot to mention is that we have our dedicated staff there at many of our parks, like Flood Park. We also have a park ranger housing. There's only somebody that's on site. So we also provide that to one of our park rangers. And so in case of an emergency, that's what it says.
It's a remarkable change from what it was before, but we're really looking forward to the full opening so that
Yeah.
people can really take advantage of it.
Well, and I hope you've been able to see, we have, we improved picnic areas, seating areas. And really trying to keep the natural characteristics of Flood Park remain. The logs, so making that either part of play, kind of adventure play for our visitors and our residents. I think that that's been exciting as well to see that transformation. And really the visitors use it to that, even in the terms where we don't have. And although the playground is open, the rest of the amenities are fully being utilized. Which is we expanded our soccer field, I think we added 2 more goalies, so they can use the long, or, have 2 shorter games, or the ones long ones, so we have some opportunities there, and then if you go out there at any given time, I think that, especially after 2 o'clock, or maybe the summer now, the pump track is fully utilized, which is great, so I enjoy seeing that too.
Thanks for the contract, my daughter kind of lives there, so it's great, keeps her out of trouble.
Yeah, it's a great part, it's great.
So about the diamond, have you reached out or thought about talking to the Menlo Atherton Little League to potentially partner with to help finish that out?
We are actually partnering now, we're in discussion with a couple people, so actually one of the city council members, Gerald, reached out to me and he put something recently in a newsletter. Where there has been some ideas and interest of trying to partner up and develop some donor or some donations through, I'm not sure if it's philanthropic or not, but also I partnered up with Menlo Park, an athletes, organization, nonprofit, who is also, we've been working in, trying to see how we could partner up as well. So we looked at initial cost estimates for some were about 6-7 million. We're now looking at least 12 to 15 million. The highest piece is probably the grading and servicing and everything underneath it takes to make, but it's about a $12 million project. So the last estimates that we looked at, which were about a year ago. And so if we look at that, then we would probably have to do a multi-phase approach just for the cost alone. Then we'd have to break it up into at least 2, maybe 3 years.
And you have to add a lot of drainage and.
We have to have the drainage, so the grading and the drainage will be that, with it being the highest cost, we want to keep it a multi-use field. But also allow for that kind of play, but it definitely is fenced up now and it's not the best looking, so we definitely want to make sure that we move that into, kind of a planning phase very quickly.
And definitely the natural grass.
Yeah, we're looking at, all our options, but we also have to put a large enough fence up now with the multi-use sports field on the other side to make sure balls don't come over. We're actually been looking at feasibility of maybe including a small dog park area. Just again, trying to make better use of, really allowing it to be a great place for all visitors. Single families, social gatherings, etc. And even our dogs.
Great. Well, thanks. I just want to say thanks, Emma and Hannah. And this is a, great resource for the community. And I hope our commission can keep in touch with you
Absolutely.
and partner with you, see how things are going, check in and just learn from you as far as, how you manage that park and how our community manages it or, uses it.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm sure you get a lot of calls, and interest, just because it's in the park. So I think this is well overdue, especially because, just for messaging, why is that park still closed? I see the playground open, I see the playground there, and it looks complete to me. But really, it's, as much, we have, as you guys are probably all experienced, and there's, few features that just. And it's a custom built, not a port, not the build a sun design and build. It's a custom built, so that alone is just adding some complexities. To the delivery of the parts and getting, time as much as we're expediting. But I hope we continue to work with us and elevate that message that it's equally important to us to open up that park. We're equally excited, and when we have a date, we hope we can all join us at that we're opening as well.
Great, sounds good.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah, online.
Thank you very much.
Sorry for the technical difficulty.
No worries. Words.
We're all fine. Okay, so, next is item E1, Parks and Recreation Commission update and report out on completed self-guided tours. Ashley, do we have any public comment on this item?
Very public item. Is it E1 or Harville?
E1.
E1.
Yes.
No public comment.
Okay, any commissioners have a report? I don't have one today, but next meeting I will. Anybody else? Yeah, it looks like we have no reports today, but maybe next time. Okay, and all right, let's move on then to item E2. Parks and Rec Commission work plan for 2026-27. Let's see, so that's staff report here, CV 2026-01. Oh wait, no, actually, I'm sorry. Thanks.
No, you're right.
Yes, okay, yes. Okay, are there any public comments on item E2?
Is there any public comment on item B2 comparing the Parks and Recreation Commission work plan for 26-27? No public comment.
Okay.
So is it helpful to see maybe the current work plan or?
Yeah, let's take a look at the current work plan. We need to take a swing at it. Maybe modifying that one.
Very slow to me.
I see it online, so
Okay.
you got it up there. There.
There we go.
No, first. Ah, okay.
Oh. My internet connection has been stable. So this is just the first of maybe a few study sessions, trying to put our heads together and see what commission might like to have as their 26-27 work plan goes.
some of these, I think you can consider sort of, standing items or regular items, sort of regular functions of the commission. Looking at number one. Uh, Number two, maybe, modifying the second bullet of number two a little bit, but that still applies. Tours are sort of, not a regular one. Be advising on topics relating to upgrading facilities, still, periodically reviewing policies, staff presentations, 12-month. Schedule of agenda items, all of these are kind of right in your wheelhouse. And last year we picked the park visits and taking a look at the Parks and Rec facility master plan as you were kind of they're not out of scope, but out of normal business kind of items. So the park visits have been coming in fine. We haven't done the review of the Parks and Rec facility master plan, but that's not your fault entirely. I think that's probably half Bab's fault that we haven't gotten it together and gotten a study session together to bring to you guys to talk
Maybe we
about.
can agenda that later.
Yeah.
Sounds good. And I wonder if we can include this in the scope of the subcommittee we've got for the presentation I'm doing with myself and Justin. So when we get together and discuss that presentation, we can go through this and we can re-agendize this for next time, think about it and then add items to it at our next meeting.
I think that's great. It's up to the commission, unless anybody has comments, thoughts now that they wanted to share.
What are classes and things generally added? Like,
It really depends on the commission members and what they're interested in. I'm trying to think of, some focused on specific facilities or specific programs, like they're interested in aquatics, they're interested in sports, and so they want to do more work sort of, reviewing those program areas. So you think of it like that, you could think of it more of some people want to dive into policy, like really get into the policies and talk about some policy things. We could lean in more on like, reviewing the department's strategic plan or like the CAPRA accreditation process, checking in that, those sorts of things. So those could be things that were that staff could bring in sort of the normal course of business. They wouldn't necessarily have to be in your work plan. You guys kind of do a lot anyway, that's sort of the ongoing work. And so I think it's a good strategy to pick one or two, maybe three things that are kind of outside the regular run of stuff. I mean, this year you also did a 6K fund run. And so that's a big thing to talk about, and that wasn't on the work plan. I mean, you could fit into, supporting and advising on recreation program development. But that was a lot of work by members of the commission to do that.
I remember like last year, we wanted to pull out, a focus on Belhaven Community Center, which is why that's pulled out. So I'm all for leaving it there. I think it's something that we should definitely pay a lot of attention to going forward.
When will we write a new facility master plan?
They're usually about 10-year plans. You did bring an addendum or a proposed addendum to the Parks and Rec City Master Plan to the City Council. It's got to be a year ago, at least now, and maybe a little more, including pickleball. And they declined to address that. So, there are reasons why, they just shut it down. They had some thoughtful reasons why they didn't want to do that. So I would say, it's coming to that time, and maybe that would be a major part of our work planning for the Parks and Rec Commission, like in the year leading up to. And including that study, because it does take a while, they're usually consultant led. The last one did take probably 4 or 5 months of community engagement and work. By the consultants and staff to put together. So backing up from 2029, it's probably in the 27, 28 year. I mean, you could put it in there and like review it. Like we have here, it's just identifying things and sort of flagging them for when we really back up in and redo it. I mean, I'm thinking the Parks and Rec facility master plan is gonna have to take into account. Do a lot of the new housing developments that are either here or going to be here. Or are gonna be in, that are in the pipeline, and what that means for parks like this, where Parkline is going to be built right across the street in Melrose, as proposing to add. I think more housing units to that development, taking out some of the business research uses and putting in more house. The village, on the other hand, is not so likely now in the next 3 to 5 years. So what does that mean for the parks on the Bayfront side of the city?
Right. Is there something we can do for them to help serve the community in the absence of a new development?
Yeah.
So, and when's the deadline for finishing on this set of goals? How many more do you do?
That is on August, I believe it's August 11th. That will bring it to council.
Is that the report? I think that's the report out though, actually.
Yeah.
I think August 11th is the report out.
September.
September, I think, September, October, depending on how.
And do we report out the forward-looking goals to council also, or is that a separate presentation?
You can sort of do a sort of looking ahead. Slide, I've seen them before, but it's usually the one on the 11th will be the looking back.
Yeah.
And here's what we've done this year, here's the work plan we had, here's what we've accomplished. Sometimes they throw a little, sometimes one can throw a little. Here's what we're thinking about looking forward to next year, or say next month, I would say.
Well, I remember you said we only get like 5 minutes, so yeah, we could stretch it maybe.
5 to 10, I would say,
And
yeah.
how interesting I am, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 5 to 10 minutes is for the presentation part. I think there's often some back and forth between the commission chair or the presenter of the report out and the council. They seem pretty willing to engage. You can speak to that from last year.
Yeah, no, they were great. Okay,
So tentatively September 15th.
okay, September 15th, great, all right, so we have another. Good.
A few months, and we have at least two more commission meetings to sort of talk about it a little more. I do think it's a good idea to start thinking about it now, because September will be here before it, in a way.
Right.
Then it will be Christmas and then.
Okay, so I guess council, commission members can think of what they might want to add and come back to the next meeting now that we've put this up.
One thing I'll note is, if there was some interest in attending any YAC meetings, it was never possible really for commission members here before, because they fell on the same days as our commission meetings. So I did talk to Deshawn, who had come before, and she let me know that they're actually switched that specifically for that reason. So that if a couple commissioners pop in, they'll be able to have that on a day when it doesn't conflict with PRC.
Great, so we can add that to item 7 and have commission members attend meetings where possible.
Yeah, and the YAC kids seem interested in working closer with the Parks and Rec Commission in the upcoming year, so it'll be a new crop of kids. But also some sort of back end changes with staff and focus of YAC might lead to more interaction between YAC and the PRC next time.
And we could just do a little coordinating to avoid forum, or we could do an ad hoc subcommittee or whatever we need to do to make that work out for everybody.
Okay. Yeah, I like the idea of, again, yeah, having members drop into YAC meetings and then we can gauge their interest, and then we then have a resource we could throw at something, in the PRC's scope, and then use them to help us out, so I think that's a good way to go.
They have had no shortage of opinions, that's for sure, yeah, and they seem eager to engage in these kinds of things, they did quite a bit of work with the EQC. Commission over the past year, so I think they're really well suited, they're super smart to the kids we tend to get through after,
Okay,
super smart.
and I was gonna mention that I sent out my draft slides of the our activities last year for the report to council. I don't know if that's appropriate to go with this agenda item, or if we have to agendize that separately. Could throw that up on the screen now if you want to take a look at it, or,
You mean for the.
Or is that- yeah, is that, also on the agenda? Okay, great.
That's okay, I just switched up the date for the council, and it's, their name very similar.
Right,
Would it be possible to open up public comment?
oh, yes, actually, so now we're done discussing. Are there any public comments, on this item?
I think there's one public comment.
I'll fill out the card that I have. Hi, I'm John McKenna. I serve on the Environmental Quality Commission. I've stopped by here a few times and, just wanted to request again your commission's help in, getting the EQC recommendation on, artificial turf to move forward at the city level. The EQC made a recommendation that the city should consider banning artificial turf installations in the city of Menlo Park, much like the city of Millbrae has done. And we're just trying to promote more natural playing surfaces for our kids. I can list the harms of artificial turf again. I'm happy to have a offline discussion on that as well, if you'd like, but there's gonna be a lot of opportunities coming up where this is gonna be something that's gonna be discussed, and if we could just have a policy in place that really just requires natural grass playing fields, that would make things a lot simpler. There was just a situation at Las Lomitas recently where they were considering what to install, and they had to partner with the city in order to get the grant from the state. So if the city had a policy, it would have given the school district direction on which way to go. As you mentioned, Parkline is now gonna have a playing field most likely. There's gonna be discussions around whether that field should be artificial turf or natural grass. We already missed the opportunity with Kelly Park. I just don't wanna see decisions get made and money gets spent, and then it's impossible to get what we really want in place. And I don't know how the wheels in motion work in the city, so I just want to get ahead of it as much as possible. So maybe that's something you could incorporate into your work plan next year, or maybe it's more of a, facilities master plan discussion, but I'd really like to put some urgency on it because these things are going to come up. And if we could get that policy in place, it would be amazing. So thank you.
Thank you for your comment and for countless contributions since then.
Yes, actually going forward, but let's, at our next meeting, that's a great idea to put a stake in the ground in this to, at least study the idea of fields and turf going forward in the park. I should say I had some good discussion with John offline about this, and there's at some point, it might be nice to have city staff to present like how fields are managed currently. And just talk about, okay, here's how we do things, here's how Burgess Park is doing with its natural grass, here are the challenges with Kelly Park. And then I'm hoping that leads into the discussion of, what should our policy going forward do as far as fields and turf.
Yeah, we had,
Yeah.
Our field supervisor from the Woods County present to the PRC before on the field maintenance, so.
yeah, so an update and then we would be good and we can agenda that at some point. All right, any other comments? All right, let's see. All right, next item is item F1, approved minutes from May 27th, 2026 meeting. Okay, Ashley, do we have any public comment on this item?
Are there any public comments on item F1? No public comment.
All right, with that, would any commissioner like to make a motion to approve those minutes?
I don't agree.
All right, okay, oh, we got a second from the other one.
Sorry, was it Tony or the second?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there's a motion to approve the May 27th, 2026 meeting minutes. Commissioner Chung, how do you vote? Commissioner Dawkins, how do you vote?
Approved.
Chair Grants, how do you vote?
Approved.
And Vice Chair Van Buren, how do you vote?
Okay.
The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, next is item F2, recommended Parks and Recreation work plan for 2025-26 progress report to the city council staff that provided a brief introduction on this item. And Ashley, do we have any public comment on this item?
We have any public comment on item F2, recommending the Parks and Recreation Plan 25-26 progress report out to city council. No public comment.
Okay, here we go. I guess I'll talk to this. I just came up with this. Ashley gave me a great list of our accomplishments last year. I kind of mixed this in with our goals. I kept an eye on the presentation from last year. I kind of simplified things. And I need to actually get together with Justin, who's on the subcommittee with me, and work more on this, but I think it's great to this is not set in stone by any means. I want to get everyone's feedback as far as what I'm saying here, add some accomplishments I might have forgotten, and just give me the feedback on the overall, flow of the reporting. And we are missing beautiful slide pictures that we get from Ashley, who we thought last time. So this is kind of drawing with them. Here we go. So I'll speak to this. I kind of boiled down our goals a little bit just to make it, instead of listing all 11 of those in the last slide, I just kind of more generalized things and group things together. And that the main ideas were a monthly forum, we interact with the public, and then we, in general, review departments and operations. We engage with the community, which includes things like the fun run, and I lumped into that Yak, for example. And the presentation from the Friends of Bedwell Bayfront Park was another community engagement. And then I kept separate Bellhaven Community Campus operation, just so everyone knows we're really keeping our eye on the ball on that one. And then I kind of made it a little different, that we want to use the 2019 Parks and Rec Master Plan as our guideline. We didn't review it, but we're always thinking about that. So when the Friends of Bedwell were here, we were like, well, we're actually not quite following the plan for that. We probably need to take it up at some point to discuss how we stick to the plan. Anyway, any feedback on these goals slide? This is a working session, so we can at least talk.
I like the way you've organized the goals, maybe looking ahead, maybe you want to do that in your work plan for next year to simplify and shorten it up. So the fewer bullets or fewer separate items, I agree, kind of grouping them. Seems to make sense.
Just makes it more readable. And as I'm presenting to council, I can expand on some of the things. You never want to read your bullet points in a presentation, but anyway, that's the bullet points. You want to go to the next slide?
I sure do. There we go.
Okay. So this is again a review of our activities, and it's only like 7 slides in total, so it's not too much. So I grouped together department policies as updates, and and I heard from Racket Sports, the picnic rental policy for recreation facility use. Aquatics are its own two separate things. I do want to thank the council for, really engaging with the aquatics operator. I think the situation is better nowadays than it has been. And again, and then we receive a report from the ranger services contractor. Anything else in this item that I missed that anybody thinks we should add, or I can just cover this with Justin and maybe after.
Trying to think back where we were on this.
This is a presentation you're gonna give the city council.
Yeah,
to the audience.
yeah, this goes to the audience.
Well, we did hear from, actually, maybe that's engagement. We did hear from the, so that's another one, really.
Oh, that's coming up. Actually, let's go to the rest of the slides then.
I was trying
Oh, yeah, you can't.
to, here or there, yeah.
So here's just Bellhaven, I mean, its own page, and I just outlined, I thought we get a wonderful presentation from staff. Want to put the date in here, but, they are just really on the ball. I'm just really impressed with them. They're getting feedback from the public. They're changing things around. I mean, they're just, they're just doing really well. Anyway, I just wanted, I think they deserve to run bullet here. And then, any feedback or next slide? Okay, and then, yeah, here's where Friends of Bayfront, Bayfront Park. The Fun Run Committee, Youth Advisory Committee. Self-guided tours, and I'll actually mention Drew by name, the city council liaison who comes, which is great to see Drew. Anything else? Any other feedback? Okay, and then this is almost pretty much the last slide, so.
You are.
What's that?
My name's in bold.
Oh, yeah.
Exciting.
You're exactly. You're the big cheese, so.
No E, no E.
Exactly, so, yeah, so just listen to commission members, the big change was, Nick, taking over and then, mentioning Ashley, and we should mention, any other staff that will, well, actually going forward, it's different, so I'm thanking, Wanman for his, service last year, Michelle Sherman, and then, also thanks to, Director Reiner and Tricia, who will be missed, but we've got a new regime, so we'll do our best we can to support you. New regime's not the best word.
I took it kindly. In the spirit of all.
Exactly. Okay, and then moving forward, so this is where we can incorporate some of the goals, but this is pretty similar to what I presented last year also. And then that's it, and the last page is thank you. So any overall feedback from people?
I think that was, probably the second slide. Go back
Yeah,
to the second slide. Yeah, so I'm just trying to refresh, engage with the community on the regional issues.
Yes.
They will do what's like.
Oh, and that's, let's go ahead to like, it's slide 4, I think. There we go. Here we go, community engagement. So that's where I lumped that into one goal rather than spell it out.
So is each slide like a goal?
Yes, and you put any number of them. So I've got community engagement. And then let's go back, we'll go back page. Bellhaven's something, we'll go back one more page. And then departments operation, let's go back to the goals page. So there they are, so just,
I see.
yeah, that's it. The only thing not on the following slides are the Parks and Rec master plan and, the overall comment that it's a monthly forum. I could try to make that stand out. I could remember goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, and then match that up with subsequent slides.
I like, yeah, I like what you did.
Not great.
I like the layout also. I feel like. This is going forward to the previous discussion about next year, but how, for the past year, one of our primary goals was continue to focus on the Bellhaven community campus. Like, the other students that are in Latin. I think that maybe we should try to expand our focus for this next year. You know, we had a wonderful presentation by one of them last month about a park that he thinks is in need of updating. We have a beautiful facility at Bellhaven and an incredible team running it. And I think that that goal is maybe pretty successfully. Yeah,
It's only been 2 years, right? So, yeah, 2 years.
and it's great. So. Just a thought to keep in mind. But I love this, I think. Flows. Information's great. Leaves a lot to talk about.
Great.
Well done.
Thanks. And I appreciate, I'll review with my subcommittee and Justin when you get a chance, just, I'll talk through like. What all the color that I have as a council when I talk through this. And I can even mention this at next meeting.
You have some, I think we'll be able to find some nice photos from the past year.
Like when we get a photo through of Nick in some crazy outfit.
Definitely some fun on photos.
Right.
Yeah, fun photos would be great. Some of them maybe some of the park visit photos, if there's some good park visit photos. Or event photos. People out in parks or people in classes. I know the team's putting together some. Social media posts for Parks and Rec Month, which is July. Sort of highlighting different facilities and things. But we should have a pretty good. Cache of impactful photos.
Great. You know, I'll be adding some photos to this. Okay, and then
Would you possible to make public comment?
oh, yes, and actually, that's my next step.
Well, I think I'm out of turn, so I'm just.
No, that's good you reminded me. And I'm a new chair, so with that. Are there any public comments on item F2?
We have one public comment.
There we go.
John, we may address the commission.
Yeah.
This isn't necessarily related to your last year's work plan, but something on your slide made me remember that, the EQC, at that same presentation where we talked about artificial grass, the whole presentation was how do we reduce plastics in our city, single-use plastics, as well. And one thing that came out of that was having party packs that would be available to community members to utilize. And that actually came to be, 350 Silicon Valley got a grant from the city. So there are now 5 party packs being held by community members throughout the city. That basically have like 20 cups, 20 plates, 20 forks, knives, and spoons, and 20 napkins. And so all you gotta do is check it out from the community member, use it for your party, clean it and return it. So there's 0 waste. And this idea has been presented. I don't know, I haven't rented a picnic table myself, but the idea was we should make sure that people that are renting picnic tables are aware of these party packs so that they can utilize them when they're having a birthday party or something. So if that hasn't already gotten into the system whereby folks going to the webpage to rent a picnic table are aware of these party packs and they're free and then they can use them, I would love for that to be something on that page that's, you know, sort of prominent so that people are aware of it and can utilize it and reduce waste in our city.
Can we talk about that?
Feel like we did, yeah, and I'm trying to remember where it ended up.
If I recall correctly, what we decided on was that we couldn't, because it's done by like 360.
It's 350 Silicon Valley, but it's for the city.
Yeah, it's for the city, but it was a different thing, so we weren't sure if we could put it in the actual rental policy, but that we would maybe include a pamphlet or leaflet or some sort of information when people were renting.
Or on the main, like the web page.
On the webpage.
I think we may have left it, Nick, that it was gonna be a thing on Explorer that would pop up and say, and then we're gonna ask Mark if that was something that was a possibility to inform people about.
We can just follow up with that and see, so that, I think what Ashley is talking about, Explore is our reservation software. So when people reserve a picnic rental, we were talking about either putting it on the receipt for the picnic rental, I think that's where we might have landed. Is like when you get the receipt for the picnic rental, it says, hey, did you know that you can reduce single-use plastic by contacting 7350 and our website? I think that's where we're going. So we just have to check to see if that's been done.
Great.
Could we have those brought out to the Play Local series also?
Hey. There you go. That's a good idea.
Because then we could have them out. And people
People can see them and use them.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good idea. And they'd say, hey, what's this? You can say, hey, it's this. It's this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. You're ready for it.
And just remind me, when we get to our agenda setting portion, we've got some. We've actually been working pretty closely with the Library Commission. I think we might want to hear from the Environmental Quality Commission at one of our meetings going forward, just to get some synergy. Because I'd like to hear from that commission a lot of their views on just environmental impact in general that we haven't really necessarily agendized in this commission. We've got little bits and pieces, but might be nice to hear from that commission and then.
Sure, we
Walk
will
with
figure
the
out,
network.
yeah, and figure out if it's a joint meeting or if it's like a
Yeah, or a presentation.
presentation or something like that, yeah, sure.
Right, but yeah, let's
That'd be in there.
well, when we get to the agenda, thing, we'll work with the rules, get right with it. Okay, so where are we?
I think overall this looks great, so we came down, the report out presentation looks great. Need some photos, you guys are gonna. Maybe clean it up and bring it back next.
Yeah,
in
the
July.
agenda is it for the next meeting.
Great. And then we can just recommend it in July.
Great. Okay, and so public comment is closed, and let's see. And there's something about making motion, but I don't think we need to take a vote yet, when I close this, I think.
Yeah, you can make a motion, but you don't have to.
Yeah, I think we're gonna re-agendize this for next time. So, okay. Almost done, so, let's see, next item is G1, Library and Community Services Department updates and statistics. Sam will provide brief presentation on this item. Ashley, do we have any public comments on this item?
Are there any public comments on item G1, library and community service updates and statistics?
Okay,
No.
proceed.
Don't have a presentation, but we can go over a couple of highlights. Okay, Park and Recreation Month is in July. So a couple of things about that. We are going to council, they're going to be reading a proclamation acknowledging sort of the essentiality of Park and Recreation Month and Park and Recreation Month itself. So Chair Grass has graciously confirmed that he will be able to attend and accept the proclamation on our behalf, as well as Vice Chair Van Buren, who would love, and all the other commissioners could attend that day. It is supposed to be on July 14th. If you can make it, let me know. We'd love to provide them your name so that they can acknowledge you as being there to receive that proclamation. In addition to our proclamation, we'll be doing the Play Local series, which we talked about a little bit. It's a series of guided outdoor play activities at 5 parks in Menlo Park. We try to do one in each district. It's just an hour, but everybody who attends is welcome to stay and have a picnic afterwards, which is where they suggested that perhaps they should bring some of the reusable, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Commissioner Van Der suggested
Thanks.
that there could be a good collaboration there. We have brought some marketing materials for each of our commissioners if they want to pass it out to neighbors. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. On the series finale, we'll be inviting someone to provide bubbles. I don't know exactly what he's gonna do, but the kids seem to love all the bubbles.
It's
We've used them before.
Yeah, the format that we've used
Bubble Man,
before,
the Bubble Man?
I think it's the bubble man.
He's
Yeah,
amazing, yeah.
So he's got it right. He does stilt walking, unicycle riding, bubble stuff, music, he kind of does it all. So I think he and a partner are going to come to the finale in World Rose Park.
And just 2 more things. One is the annual advisory body training and appreciation event. I believe that our deputy city clerk sent out an email about it. That is July 29th, or I'm sorry, June 29th at 5:30 p.m. Hope to see you all there. Make sure you RSVP if you haven't already. And then also there is a new vacancy on the Park and Recreation Commission. Michelle Sherman has resigned. She's moving on to bigger, better, much more fun things. So we wish her luck and to do with us.
And I have a very brief update, and we'll come back with an item next month to talk about this. From the city budget, which was passed last night. So there was a significant deficit. 7.9 million when we started the budget process. And through a combination of factors, including the fee study and the changes to the master fee schedule, which are going to go into effect on July 1st. The state came through with a partial vehicle license fee backfill to the tune of like $1.9 million. And some other adjustments, the city is paying less into its capital improvement project between $1 million. But there were some cuts that were asked, I should say cuts, some budget revisions that were asked of each of the departments by the city manager. And there were, while some of those were pulled back by the city council last night, there were a couple that went through that affect things under the Parks and Rec Commission purview. The first and probably most significant one is the council is recommending not continuing with the subsidized payments for the additional aquatics hours beginning past Labor Day. So that is certainly something, and that's brand new. So we haven't worked out all of the details of that yet, but I will bring something back to you guys next month so that we can talk about it. The second one was the council recommended increasing gymnastics fees further than the I think they went up like 5% on July 1st. They are going to recommend increasing them 20% more, phased in 5% each season. So in terms of dollars, that's probably, it's going from $16 to $18 on July 1st per hour. And so council is recommending another 5%, which is probably another $1 or $2. So it may go up to $20 for the fall per hour. Over the course of the season, that's 14, somebody do the math. And so it's gonna go up about $30 or $40 for a season for residents. And then plus 35% for non-residents, so $50 or $60 for non-residents. We can also bring something back next month on that. but like. Writing the staff report, so. Actually, my colleague wrote the staff report, I do the staff report, to be perfectly honest with you. So, but just a heads up on those in case those show up in the newspapers, which probably will. The good news is the city's budget overall is balanced with a very tiny surplus, like $9,000 surplus. Which when we were starting with a deficit of $7.9 million, that did not seem very likely at all, so it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride over the last couple of months. A lot of good work by folks in the department to sort of get us to a place where we're at now. Unfortunately, that we're going to see some cuts to services. I haven't talked through, of course, I will be talking to our wireless provider. And we'll be coming up, we're planning for what to do next.
So what's the dollar amount of the aquatics?
It's $275,000.
Okay.
Given that it's a partial.
And then how permanent is or sticky is the license fee backfill? Is that gonna be a feature the following year as well, or is that just a 1-year break?
That's the concern, is that it is not a guaranteed amount, and the percentage that the state has been backfilling, there's 3 counties, it's San Mateo, Yolo, and there's 2 small counties, Yolo and another one big county, San Mateo. It's a very convoluted process by which the state is taking the portion of money for the vehicle license fee registration, using it for education, and then backfilling the counties that provided that money. It's really convoluted, and we're only getting a percentage of it back. The county has actually sued the state. It's a whole thing. There's been a lot of lobbying going on behind the scenes, but our finance team saying better not to consider it. When we're looking at that 5-year forecast. And so the planning, in my mind, is to sort of be more in sort of a lean mode for the next couple of years, or at least until that gets figured out. There are some revenue generating measures that the city is looking at as well, but those tend to take a while to come online. So more to come on, basically. Too long gonna be, I'll bring you a report next month.
Next meeting. We'll get
A little bit on it, and happy to talk to you guys offline about it.
Great. That's great information. I'm glad it's not Armageddon this year. Okay, any public comment on this item, Ashley?
Is there any public comments on item G1?
Okay, and don't get at work commission discussion, but I do have that.
Oh,
Anybody else? Oh, go
I
for
was
it.
waiting.
Go for it.
Thank you.
You're following a proper procedure.
I am trying. Will other commissioners be able to attend some of these play local events? And do you think it would be good to go to them?
Everyone's welcome to attend and play local event. It would be great.
They're on Tuesdays from 11 to 12 on those dates. Concerts in the park are always Wednesdays, correct? Well,
Correct.
Fremont Park.
They're both Fremont and Carly Clark concerts in the park are on Wednesday evenings. I heard today that Menlo. It's a business association, downtown business association is looking to sponsor some Friday night, Friday concerts downtown. So those will be sort of more smaller bands like located around the Santa Cruz Avenue area. That's not totally firmed up yet, I just bring up that.
We're gonna find the dates for all this stuff.
Oh, it's on the report that they gave for the concerts.
Yeah,
And then if you go on the city's website, it lists all the dates with the bands playing and hyperlinks to the band's websites, so you can learn more about them. As well as descriptions for the summer concert series. That one starts July 8th. The Play Local starts the day before that at 7.
Couldn't set it down, so.
Thank you. So if people would like to attend those, I'll try to make as many as I could, so that will be cool. advisory body trainings, we're only required to do it every other year, correct?
Correct, but I will say that they often have pretty good swag there to tempt you.
I will unfortunately be in New York on Monday, so if there's great swag that anyone could grab for me, I would be eternally grateful.
I'll try to make sure I get some.
And my final comment is related to the commission vacancy. When will that be on Menlo Park.gov's website? Because currently it says there are no vacancies at this time.
Right, well, this was within a week.
Yeah.
They're gonna start, I'm sorry, Ashley, go ahead.
So I did reach out to the city clerk to ask how they would handle this process, and they are going to have to reopen it. It will run for 4 weeks, I think is the standard time. And they do reach out and notify all the previous applicants to let them know that it's suddenly open again. And then it will go to council at the next
It'll be,
reasonably
August.
available
Yeah,
council.
it'll be in
meeting.
August, because they're only having one meeting in July, and then they don't pick up again until August.
Yeah. So. In theory, it'll be open within the next week or two.
Hopefully, I did have some conversations with the city manager about, hey, we just had a recruitment that just closed, can't we like appoint somebody like sort of an eligibility list like we do for recruitments in the city? And it would have to be written into the policy, but he was open to making that change, and I'm sure the city clerk would be open to that adjustment as well, since it's a fair amount of effort to like advertise and recruit for commission positions, which is why they try to move it at one time of year.
I know people who are interested. Or tell them to just fill out, because there's a. Application you can just fill out too. So I think
That's
that's
right.
on the website. If anyone is interested and is watching, you can apply at any time.
If you did attend play local, you could do a 2-for-1 and do a park tour just before or after. Or just attending play local, I guess you can just count that as a.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a question I will actually ask while we're discussing the park tours. It's one of the. You've already done Sharon Park. I was disappointed today. So I was driving my daughter. And she wanted to see goats. And I did not see them at Sharon Hills Park or Sharon Park.
I was told in a meeting this afternoon that the goats finished early because they had more goats than they thought they were going to get. And so the goats were extra hungry.
Yeah, I did go,
Apparently, and I know people really look forward to seeing the goats.
I did go to both parks and they both looked like they had been sufficiently consumed.
Yeah.
So. That's. Great. Well, the goats did pretty consumed.
The goats will come back.
You're talking.
They're close under near backyard, they probably some bottle headlines.
Yeah, the goat follow.
All right, any other commissioner comments? So we'll just go on our last item, which is the tentative agenda calendar.
Yes, that's true.
And Ashley, is there any public comment on our agenda calendar? Otherwise, we'll move to commissioner discussion.
Is there any public comment on item G2, the tentative agenda calendar? No. No public comment.
Okay, we're discussion.
So you'll notice I stuck one in there, at the bottom, and that is the event sponsorship policy review and update. The last time we did the event sponsorship policy was just over a year ago. And what the budget stress sort of brought to mind is having the ability to have event level sponsorship. Right now, the sponsorship for the large events caps at, I think, $5,000. That's the maximum. For the smaller events like the fun run, Harrison is furrowing his brow, so perhaps I'm doing it right. It might be less. Yeah, it's not enough to sponsor a whole basically is what it is, and with the budget shortfalls. I was thinking that maybe it was worth a discussion to see if we could. Maybe we might not even have to adjust the current levels, but add another level that was event level sponsorship, just so that that would be allowed if someone. Say like Snowflake wanted to sponsor photos with Santa, like that, they could do that. The policy as it's set up now really favors smaller organizations and smaller donors in Menlo Park, which I think is a fantastic idea. But if the choice is between having a larger donor or not having an event,
Mhm.
then I'd like to have the opportunity to have a larger donor. So that's why I put one there.
Great. Love that.
Any other agenda items we think we should add to July? You said you were gonna talk about the budget, is that on there?
Yeah, I'll provide a budget update. Probably as a separate item.
Great.
An interesting topic, probably now July, maybe we can consider in near future, like August, September. During the last meeting, when we hear the feedback, the operation and experience from the staff, I think that the staff shortage has been an ongoing problem. And then probably in previous meeting, when I checked with Nick about parks or playground improvement, I heard public works, the city staff.
Yes,
Like a week, very high,
yeah, the CIP team has like a 50% vacancy rate.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know how we can add to our agenda to discuss city-wide staff.
We can park it in the parking lot down at the bottom right now, just until we kind of figure out how we can wrap our arms around it, because that's. It's not just. LCS, it's not just an LCS issue, it's, in fact, our vacancy rate is lower than some of the other departments' vacancy rates. It is something that they do talk about citywide. Usually whenever they update the salary schedule. But I think it is part of the budget process as well, because I remember them reporting out on the vacancy rates at the June 9th meeting. So it is a thing that is discussed annually at the city council level. But we can talk about it and figure out how to bring it here, in what way we can break it down to the level of the POC.
I like the idea of putting it on the upcoming unscheduled agenda items, and you can give us some thought.
Yeah.
And you need to get some traction in your new job, but it'd be good to hear from you, like, how your department interacts with everybody else and get an idea of the overall staff situation, what the challenges are.
Sure.
That kind of dovetails with, you're gonna give us the first cut, which is just what the budget is, and then after that, you're still figuring out since yesterday what the implications are.
Yeah.
Yeah, also maybe increase or apply some city-wide benefits for city staff. For example, like the city of also, I think, they support the city staff with suitcase to attend the powerful school districts schools. And they even provide some reimbursement for child care, like replacement, something like this, yeah. It's examples, yeah.
These have been parts of previous contracts. With city workers, and in fact. Stipend for city staff to spend on. Recreation programs has been part of previous contracts, and these things kind of come out depending on. The bargaining group and depending on the sort of economic. Atmosphere that you're bargaining.
Yeah.
But yeah, the employee retention and growth is very important. And maybe we can talk about that in terms of what we're doing in LCS.
Yeah. And I'm gonna add under unscheduled agenda items, And just take a swag at it, I'd like to hear a report from the Environmental Quality Commission on their thoughts. So I need to talk to John, talk to you after the meeting, talk to your chair. And I'd like to get some synergy going.
Sorry.
Oh,
Sure, you're gonna
okay, great. All right,
Here's one that I missed.
okay.
Can I just do like a little temperature take, any vacations planned for late July? We're short one commissioner and summer's big on vacations. Does anybody have anything that they know they won't be able to make it on that date?
Actually, July 22nd.
You could, just check, double check the day. Well, it is 22nd, so it's not the last week of July, that is the 4th. Wednesday is the 22nd, got 5 Wednesdays in July this year.
My plane should land by the time the meeting starts.
So,
I'll be here.
oh, you will?
Yeah.
We can do another check as we get further along, it's just for July and August. Mostly July, well, you can see June, but July, I think it's a good idea to kind of take a temperature check and make sure that we're gonna have a quorum. We don't wanna go all the way down the road developing some of these things and then not be able to.
We can actually still have members attend remotely.
That's correct. There's a couple of provisions. There's the just read the Brown Act, which I know far enough in advance, we can put it on the agenda, and there's some requirements for the remote participant to sort of post agenda
A noting
in their
of
place
or
of participation.
right.
I think I'm supposed to ask you if there are any other people over the age of 18 in the room with you, things like that. It seems onerous, but the whole idea is to sort of make sure that everything's on the up and up. And people, members of the public who want to participate in the meetings have the chance to do so. But yes, there is that possibility. I just, Ashley and I would like at least a week in advance. And 2 weeks in advance would be even better if you know we're gonna be traveling on date and participate.
In case the reminders you send out are great, so you send a reminder out about the July meeting, maybe 2.5 weeks out. And then a second one the week before.
I'm very excited with reminders.
Yeah, we're down a member and it's the summer, so yeah.
And it's, I don't think it's likely that we'll have our replacement member appointed by the July. Yeah,
And I'm not allowed to send the emails to everybody, so.
no. Yeah, I can send it to me and I can send it to everybody.
Okay, let's see, with that, any public comments on this issue? I'm about to ask for comments before or after.
There we go.
Yeah, okay. Great, let's move on to the last item, commissioner reports. Are there, would any commissioner like to make a short report on items of interest to the entire commission? Okay, nope. So let's see, with that, our meeting is adjourned at 8:07 PM.